Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and an old dirt road, and you're ready to go if you want to. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today. Live Music Nation Podcast Festival Edition. I'm your host, Jake Gill. Today we're with Kevin Mead. He is with the Bell Witch Festival. Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Kevin, I love the guitar in the background. That's always a good sign when we start an interview as you go through there. Give us a little background on you. Where'd you grow up? Talk a little bit about your family and your career.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Tullahoma, Tennessee. Most people don't know where that is, but when I give you reference points, they do. So Bonnaroo, Jack Daniels, and then I was in the middle of both of them.
There you go.
Yeah, so I started my career in music. So I actually went to Belmont University and studied music. And then right before I was supposed to graduate, I switched over to medicine. So I had a career in medicine for a good long time. And I think I'm the perfect example of showing everybody that you can do whatever you want, because now I'm the president of a pet product company. But I also took over this year as the president of the nonprofit Community Spirit, which is the entity that hosts the Bell Witch Fall Festival for the last 22 years.
Perfect. All right. For the listener that's never been there, 3 questions that help us get started. What does it look like? What does it smell like, meaning food? And what does it sound like? Music, activities, different things in the environment.
Yeah, so the festival is it's in a very rural town. Excuse me. So Adams, Tennessee has about 667 people, and it's in Robertson County, Tennessee, which is the agricultural capital of Tennessee. We're just about 30-ish minutes from Nashville. So, most of us live and work in Nashville. But the festival itself is set in, like I said, Adams. It's a very rural community. It's known for the world's finest dark fired tobacco. So when you think of like a cigar wrapper, that's an entire tobacco leaf of dark fired tobacco, cigarillos, things like that. It's mostly made in that northern Middle Tennessee and southern Kentucky region. So during the festival, the barns that the tobacco is being smoked in are actually all going. And so you have this really earthen and spicy aroma just surrounding you at the festival, which I think that you have to experience it before you're like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
I think for locals, about August is when the barns start firing. And it's like Christmas morning, like you'll open your doors and the entire county is just saturated in it. And so that is honestly, that overpowers any food you're ever going to have at this festival. And the performances themselves. So the festival is actually it's a music and culture festival. So it starts with the first stage production called Red River Tales. So Red River Tales is bringing in storytellers and historians and musicians from all over the county, which in a lot of places that doesn't mean a lot, but like I said, we're less than an hour from Nashville,
Sure.
So we've got some pretty good talent over here. And then from Red River Tales, which is a free event, we transition into Smoke, A Ballad of the Night Riders, which is an original stage production and musical that actually follows a family through the tobacco wars of the early 1900s. I actually, like I said, I grew up in Middle Tennessee, but I had no idea about this until I moved to Robertson County probably 7 years ago. And it was actually the largest military gathering outside of the Civil War in U.S. history.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So essentially what had happened is the U.S. Tobacco Company and the farmers kind of were at a stalemate where, not unlike today, where the company said, we're only going to pay you this much. And the farmer says, well, I can't live on that.
Right.
And so you had, two sides going at each other, and Smoke follows this family through these decisions that really have had a lasting impact in the area, because if you think about it, early 1900s, we're just a generation removed from that.
Sure.
So you had people's grandparents that were involved in this that are still alive today. So that's a really cool history preservation that we use, but we're using the arts to kind of relay that information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that goes for about 2 weeks, and then we transition into Spirit, which is about the Bell Witch, which is actually the most documented haunting in all of American history. Um, yeah, it's very strange, but something that's really cool about our specific festival is that the farm, the Bell family farm from the 1700s, we're actually performing all of this. The entire festival is on a section of the old Bell family farm. So there's a line in the shows that say, in this place on this ground. And when they're telling you this, it's because it literally was happening where you're sitting,
Oh,
which is kind of a
sure.
cool spin on how we do the festival.
Very cool. Very cool. For you, what's the drive? What's the drive to keep this thing going?
Yeah, so honestly, I think that it tells a story through the arts that it's really important. That is really important. So obviously, we have Spirit that transcends time because everybody loves a good ghost story. But I think it's important for people to understand the why
Yeah.
behind why a place is the way it is. Why do people have these views of whether it's corporate America or the small farmer? And I think that it's just a really cool way to preserve the history of it, um, and it preserves it without throwing a book at somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're teaching people without knowing they're being taught.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, Kevin. Absolutely. All right, a couple of fun questions because you are kind of a music buff with art, with everything else. I like to survey across the nation as we do these interviews. We tour, we play all over the U.S. I like to get in a little bit of an insight. Kevin, you personally, what's the best concert you've ever been to?
Oh, I mean, I did see Stevie Wonder at Bonnaroo when I was
Oh,
like 18. So, I
yeah,
mean, can you beat that?
I don't know.
Um, yeah, I will say, I've been to a lot. Oh, this is hard. I think one of the like most memorable ones, I was backstage when Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton did "Drink You Away" at the CMA Awards, and that was pretty stupid getting to watch that from the wings.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. For
yeah,
sure. Okay, dead or
but
alive, dead or alive, you get to see one musical act. Who would you choose to see?
oh, that one's a hard one. Um, I think I would kind of love to have seen Elvis.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I
That's
mean,
I mean
I know that's like
every answer is a
so
good answer.
generic, but
No, I don't think it's weird. We hear Elvis a lot. We hear Elvis, we hear the Beatles a lot, and then we hear some obscure ones that you just are like, wow, I never even thought about. Elvis, and so let me ask you this. Okay, Elvis, what era of his life? Newly discovered talent, later refined Elvis, Las Vegas Elvis, which Elvis?
um, I'm thinking like movie era Elvis.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
For me, it would be newly defined Elvis, like the Elvis who wanted to be who he wanted to be, but was still kind of held back a little bit. That's the Elvis that I want to
Mhm.
see. I want because I think you get to see both. That's kind of cool. That's very cool. Kevin, how do people find out more about the Bell Witch Festival and everything you have going on there?
Yeah, definitely. So you can pop onto www.bellwitchfallfestival.com, and it will go through all the shows, all the ticketing prices, as well. We have Facebook, we have Instagram. Um, the Instagram we're slowly transitioning into getting that to be built up. Like I said, I just
Sure.
took over as president this year. I'm only the fourth president in 22 years,
There
so
you go. Perfect.
they like consistency.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Kevin, thanks for being on with us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and an old Joe Road. Are you ready to go if you want to?